This is Hannibal live here for my weekly review of the points I find interesting in Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter. Just finished a great interview with Rockin' Robin, former WWE Women's Champion, who sang America the Beautiful at WrestleMania 5. She is pure class. I was a fan of hers, and it was a pleasure to interview her. Also, want to say that I suck at pronouncing weird last names, but Andy the Crazen or Crazian, sorry, it's like Crazy Asian is her nickname. But she did send me a video of a fight she had during the weigh-in with her opponent. She won her fight tonight. Congratulations to her. I did post that video on this channel, so I've interviewed her before. Very cool lady. So I'll get into the news. Chug, I'm going to the States today, which I actually have to pack after this. Let me get into the wrestling news before I get any more distracted. In the Oliver Luck and Vince McMahon XFL legal battle, where Luck is suing WWE or suing Vince for $23.8 million because he says McMahon owes him that for his XFL deal, which was supposed to be guaranteed. The judge has set a deadline of February 4th, 2022 for evidence to be provided, and he wants to see both sides go to court March 7th. Luck was supposed to be under a guaranteed contract until June 30th, 2023, even though the league folded. But apparently when the league folded, Vince McMahon didn't want to pay him and instead claimed he was fired about 4 days prior to the company folding. Luck was supposed to make $96,153.80 per week through the end of his contract, plus an extra $2 million every June 30th. Huge pay for that guy. What a waste of money the XFL is for Vince McMahon. All the money he makes with the wrestlers, well, whatever. I guess it's his money. He can do what he wants. But there's so many wrestlers in bad shape after their careers, and he'll just literally waste millions and millions on XFL. Or remember in one case, WBF, all the money that the wrestlers made him. And at that time of the WBF, the wrestlers' WWE pay was pretty low, as has been documented in my interviews. But meanwhile, the XFL or WBF guys didn't have steroid testing where the WWE guys did. And they were getting paid a shitload to not have to be on the road. So it's not always fair, but it is his money. He can do whatever the hell he wants. WWE is looking to do a remake of American Gladiators with WWE wrestlers being gladiators. Well, one wrestler that will not be a gladiator for sure would be Kevin Owens. That would actually be hilarious. I would watch that to see Kevin Owens get beat up by the Contenders every week on American Gladiators. Apparently, Gable Steveson, who's signed to WWE, is going to be the best paid amateur wrestler of all time. He's going back for his final year in Minnesota. He got paid $250,000 for winning the Olympic gold. He's making $20,000 a month in NFT money, and he now is also under a WWE guaranteed contract. So, if anyone remembers Daniel Galley, I believe the only male Canadian wrestler to win a gold medal, one of the reasons I decided not to go to college and pursue amateur wrestling was because one of the colleges I was going to go to, Simon Fraser University, where Daniel Galley was from, had him spend a day with me during my recruiting trip. And this guy was living in somebody's basement. He only had $25,000 sponsorship money from Cheerios, and his pay from the government for being a top athlete was like something like $1,000 a month, something very low. And he drove a car that my car as a 17-year-old at the time was nicer. So that's one of the reasons I went into pro wrestling. But now, as I'm bringing that up, because Gable Steveson rolling in dough here, maybe that's going to make more people want to become amateur wrestlers. So that I would still say amateur wrestling is my favorite sport. So I like to see that. I don't like watching it, but it's my favorite. It was my favorite sport to do. WWE stock is high right now, apparently, and the company is valued at $4.289 billion. So anyone that thinks WWE is going out of business anytime soon, that's not happening. Let's get into the ratings. AEW Dynamite did a 0.45. Raw only beat it by 0.3 points, 0.48. NXT did a 0.14. Cody Rhodes' new reality show did a 0.17. It even beat NXT. Rampage did a 0.29. SmackDown did a 0.55. Dark Side of the Ring did a 0.07. Impact did a 0.03. And somebody mentioned why people care about the ratings. Well, these companies get most of their money, or a large chunk of it, I shouldn't say most, but a large chunk of their money from their TV deals, hundreds of millions of dollars in some cases. So this is why ratings are still important. Yes, I do realize people watch stuff on YouTube instead. When I watch wrestling clips, it's on YouTube. I haven't had cable since 2012. I'm just saying they still matter from a standpoint that they might not get renewed for as much money. For instance, Fox was expecting a 1 rating for SmackDown, average. They're only 2.5 years into the contract, from what I understand, out of a 5-year contract. And they've only hit a rating, a 1 rating for, I think, their first episode, and maybe one more time in 2.5 years. So that goes to show you that Fox overpaid them. So will that affect them when the TV deals come up again? I have no idea. But in theory, it would. Let's go into some attendance figures. Raw, September 25th in Hershey, did 6,790 fans. The 27th in Cincinnati, Ohio. That was a house show, by the way, in Hershey. The Raw main event tapings in Cincinnati did 3,700 paid. This is interesting. The September 28th Orlando, Florida NXT tapings, which tickets are free, only had 200 fans. That building seats 250 people. They cannot even get. You know what? You know one thing that I really think WWE should do if they want to make NXT more popular, and they'll never listen to me because they'd rather have Mick Foley's kid as a writer or Ultimate Warrior's ex-wife or widow as a writer. But if they wanted to make NXT more popular, they should take that on the road. Here's what I would do. I would get rid of the 2 brands, since all it does is water down each brand. Keep the main roster the best of the best if you want to fight AEW, which is gaining momentum. And then fire a bunch of people and put some of the better main roster guys who aren't quite cutting it in the main roster back in NXT and have NXT tour for their TV show. So at least more people want to watch it if it's like more of an exciting atmosphere than the same Performance Center studio. I mean, yeah, they've added more colors. Who the fuck cares? Honestly, Those colors look like they're from like the early 90s, like Zubaz multicolored pants that people would wear. You think changing those colors to fruity colors are going to make your product cool? I don't know. I find it terrible from the highlights that I've seen, but definitely cut the dual brands. It's going to be your downfall. Cut the two champions. You don't need it. Make your one roster the very best, then boost up NXT. That would be the smart thing to do. Changing the damn colors of the logo and making the venue hold an extra, what is it? It used to hold 180, now it holds 250, but you can't even fill 250 free tickets, and you couldn't even fill 180 some of the times before. I don't know. I'll shut up about that. The Dynamite in Rochester, New York had 6,100 paid, 6,500 total. Jake Roberts, whose sister, Rockin' Robin, I just interviewed, has been in a wheelchair because he recently underwent foot surgery. And he is returning as a manager. He managed Lance Archer in Rochester. Jake Roberts, I'm glad that he's with AEW and they seem to be taking care of him. I wish they would use his mind. He's supposed to have a great wrestling booking mind, and I somehow get the feeling they don't really use it. But it's good that he has a job and isn't having to like. Just a few years ago, guys like Jake would be having to drag themselves to independent shows, sometimes with less than 100 people, to wrestle. Half the time, some guy that hasn't been trained properly, just to get $1,000 payday. Fucking fly all the way around the country or sometimes to a different country. So I'm glad that there's more opportunities like that. I think Tully Blanchard, is this the longest job Tully Blanchard has ever had in a major company for AEW? He doesn't have to do the church circuit anymore. I don't know. I questioned some of these guys and their religious, including Jake's. Remember when he was doing the religious circuit? Funny stuff. Ryan Sakota passed away. There is a video of Rick Bassman, Paul London, Chris Masters, and Jimmy Yang talking about him. He's from UPW, was in the WWE in 2003, 2004, passed away at the age of 48. Sorry to hear about that. Harry Smith had made some posts that he was in Baltimore this week. Did anyone see SmackDown? I glanced through the results to see if Harry appeared in anything on SmackDown, and I couldn't see anything. So maybe they just pulled the WCW and flew a talent into a place to do nothing. Who knows? But I would love to see, like, why isn't Harry in NXT? He's been under contract since April. Harry is a great wrestler, the best technical wrestler in the world right now. And he's got size. He's got the family history, and you're not even using him. Doesn't make any sense. UFC 266, there's no numbers out of how many pay-per-view buys yet. John Jones was arrested on charges of domestic battery, vehicle tampering on September 24th, just hours after the UFC Hall of Fame ceremony that he attended. According to the police reports, Jones pulled the hair of his fiancée and headbutted a police car. Mark Henry's lawsuit stemming from his UFC 200 fight with Brock Lesnar, where Brock failed the drug test. It's apparently back on, with Hunt claiming Dana White knew that Lesnar was on performance-enhancing drugs before the fight. So, yeah. White says that the November 6th Madison Square Garden gate is going to be more than $8 million. Wonder if you're going to boost the performance of the night bonuses for the fighters from $50,000 for that one, because it was $50,000 all along, and there's been quite a bit of inflation since then, and your company is very successful. Tyrone Woodley apparently got the I Love Jake Paul tattoo on him based on the stipulation from their last fight, where the loser would have to do that. Woodley does want a rematch with Paul, but it's unlikely to happen. There really wouldn't be any benefit for it for Paul. He's already beaten him. Less people would be interested in seeing the rematch. There's bigger names he could fight. So not a huge amount of news this week. I am heading off to Wichita today to cover this event on Sunday for the Hannibal TV. Fuego del Sol versus Matt Hardy. Among the matches, Sandman's going to be there, Marty Bell, Jacob Fatu, Rodney Mack, former WWE and ECW star, Texas champion, the Blood Hunter, former NWA women's champion, Queen Erica, and many others. And it's going to be at the historic Cotillion. And in case you didn't know, the Blood Hunter is fighting Too Cold Scorpio October the 22nd in LA with Kevin Sullivan managing the Blood Hunter. I did post a Kevin Sullivan podcast on here today where he spent an hour talking about the Ultimate Warrior. I didn't see it yet. He also put over CM Punk's debut at the beginning of that podcast. He talked about CM Punk's AEW debut. He liked it. The other guy that liked it was Sean Stasiak, who I also interviewed this week. Have a great night.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month.